We're taking a look at one of the training devices that we're testing out. This one is made by Kaiser here in Arizona. It's actually a pretty nifty little idea, so I'm going to take an empty Glock and just disassemble it. Now, if you're not familiar with taking apart a Glock, this may not be the kit for you, because you may need a little bit of experience taking these things apart in order to replace the trigger. Basically, it is replacing the trigger, your typical Glock trigger, with their reset trigger. So there's a bit of Glock gunsmithing required. If you're not familiar with using the Glock tool to pull out these pins and pull out the trigger group, then you may not want to go as far as using this particular kit. But you can see that the Glock trigger is a trigger group, and this just replaces it. It's basically the same, it's just missing some of the parts that make it fire. It's a drop-in, but again, if you're not familiar with this, it's something you might want to take to the gun shop or have somebody walk you through. I'm going to go ahead and put these pins back in and come back. Okay, so we've swapped out the reset trigger from Kaiser with the regular trigger. The biggest difference is all the parts that allow the bullet to shoot have been removed. And the biggest advantage of it is that you've now got the ability to pull that trigger, and the trigger will reset for you. Typically, like I showed before, when you pull the trigger on a regular Glock trigger, it's going to stay dead until you rack the slide to bring it back into operation. So in conjunction with one of these blue sit training mags and with the barrel plug, you've now got a gun that, for all practical purposes, still operates like a typical Glock. Able to rack the slide, able to do different, manipulations. And it's not perfect for everybody, but I think it can really add some dynamics to your training situations. It doesn't give you an actual reset, which has been the biggest complaint about it so far. My biggest complaint is that you almost have to be a Glock armorer as far as pulling your pins and swapping that trigger out. If you've got enough money, or maybe school, you could have a dedicated training Glock where you just leave that trigger in. And this will really allow someone to draw the weapon, put it on target, deal with manipulations. Really is a nice training setup, especially when used in conjunction with some of these other training aids.